76% of people that are buying these luxury goods, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, they're people that are below a certain socioeconomic status.
Make sure that we are being responsible with credit cards.
Credit is golden handcuffs. The credit system is not made for you. It's made to judge how well of a slave that you.
Credit comes from the Latin word credito, which means I believe, which means credibility. The banks want to feel like you're credible so you can give them the money back.
Administrations are going to come and go. And you don't want to focus on party, focus on the policies. So when I was younger, coming in my 20s, I leveraged my good job and I bought a rental property at the age of 21. I was a single mother, not getting child support. And so I bought my second rental property at 25. And this is where I learned about credit. You need to leverage your credit no matter who's in office. It's not about what's going on in that White House. It's about what's going on in your house. And so
that's right.
You don't want to look at policy. Party. You look at policy. Structure your life. Leverage your credit.
Guys, I'm telling you now, if you do not have any tax returns, you're not getting those numbers. I don't care who tells you that. I do this every day, right? We have multiple bank contacts at multiple different institutions. I'm telling you right now what these banks want. A lot of times people think I'm like gatekeeping or harsh or like I'll be pushing people. I'm like, no, I'm telling you what they want to see, like directly from their mouth. If I can fund everybody, I would. But it's just I tell people what the banks tell us. No bank pulls duns. I'll tell you that right now. They don't use duns, right? So forget your DUNS number and all that stuff for a second, guys.
The financial ignorance game, people don't know what they don't know.
That's right.
Right? They can check out their zip code and see what the average credit score is in their zip code. And you're not going to like this if you live in the hood, or it's not going to be a good it's not going to be a good credit score.
Yeah.
Right? Because those are the areas that you're going to see those high check cashing places, laundromat places, pawn shops, right? Based on the credit score. Most affluent areas will have a higher credit score, more wealth.
When I first got into Navy Federal, I didn't have the longest credit history at the time. What I did was a process, right? If you have a 800, 850 credit score, no dings on your credit, go ahead and apply. You most likely can get approved for any credit card. On the other hand, if you're somebody who relates to what I just spoke about myself, we're going to do it a different way. Relationship building. You want to build relationships with any institution, especially financial institution that you want to get involved with. With Navy Federal, I'm going to go right to the elephant in the room. They love direct deposit.
Navy Federal is a relationship-based. So before you go out there and apply, you want to have that account for at least 90 days, a relationship. And so you want to try to get as many products as you can, savings account, checking account. By getting the EIN number connected to your own personal name, you can get business credit cards that doesn't show up on your personal credit scores. So those are ways that you can leverage that relationship with Navy Federal, and then you go and pre-qualify and see what Navy Federal is showing you.
Build multiple products with them. Most people that have a bank, all they're going to do is open up a checking account and cash their check with them. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And they wonder why they're getting denied by these banks. Navy Fed operates with an internal score. The more products you have, the better it is that they'll loan you a credit card, auto loan, all these different type of loans that they offer. So first things first, open up. I like a Flagship checking. The minimum requirement is $1,500. If you don't have $1,500, they'll just charge you $15 a month. I'd rather take the hit of $15 a month, knowing, telling Navy Federal that I'm an elite, client of theirs. Number two, open up a savings account. As long as you have $20 in the savings account, everything else is golden.
Put direct deposit in there. When they see direct deposit, that's pretty much proof of your income. They see how much money you moving in and out of there. You don't want to put direct deposit, that's fine. Just make sure you're running money through the account.
Now, when you first join, it's not really as easy to get your internal score, but you can kind of see if I'm not getting approved for high limits, then most likely my internal score is going to be a little bit lower. So one, taking for instance my story, I would take a look at, okay, do I have direct deposit? Am I building my accounts up with Navy Federal? Okay, do I have high utilization? Do I have late payments and things like that? Are you overdrafting on your account? So you want to make sure that to look to see why are my accounts not in a good space and try to correct those first and give it a little bit more time.
When it comes to Navy Federal, I think there's a lot of misconception about internal scores. I think people focus on internal scores way too heavily. And yes, it is important to build an internal score, but they only matter to credit cards. Okay, so only credit cards. Everything else, it doesn't matter. Internal scores only affect the current application of what you're applying for, especially when it pertains to credit cards. Of course, everything else that you have with Navy Federal, like say the checking accounts, the auto loans, the pledge loans, that will help build your internal score. But the internal score usually is only used for credit cards. It doesn't get used for any other Navy Federal product.
Do the secured card for $3,000. Don't do it for $500. You're doing yourself a better service if you do it for $3,000. Now, I can't control your spending habits.
That's
but
right.
You have to be disciplined with your money because you're building your financial future on that secured card. So I don't know about you, but I definitely want to take care of my relationship with Navy Fed. I don't mess with them. No late payments, none of that. Hey, whatever they loan me, I pay you back, right? Good graces, right? And that's how you want to be because you want to be a good borrower.
So the pledge loan is a crucial step because you are telling the bank, hey, I have this much money. Do it for more than 1,000. You put 1,500. They lock it up in your savings account, and then they're going to give you the money right back in your checking account. 3 days later, you're going to pay it back on the app, and you're going to leave $100 balance. And by the end of the month, you should have a 20 to 50 point boost, but just do it one time. One time's enough. But if you could do it with one time with that bank, use that same money when you pay it back because they give it right back to you, and do it with another bank.
Pledge loan in itself is adding on what we call an installment type of loan. People that add them on 6 months, pay it off. And then they think like my score should skyrocket, but you're shortening your age of credit.
That's right. That's
and
right.
anytime you close out an installment loan, it decreases your credit score because age of credit is 15% of your credit score. So you can see people actually tear their score down. Credit is nothing but golden handcuffs. It's to judge you on how good of a slave you are. So with credit cards, when you add on that credit card, that's if you're under that 700 credit score, you'll see an increase on your credit score on average by 49 points on average by adding on a credit card because they want to make you a slave. Now, if you add that on and you don't see that increase, make sure you don't have charged off accounts that's dinging you every single month.
Now, Rakuten pulls from TransUnion. All your credit reports are frozen until you apply. You unfreeze TransUnion. You do the pre-approval. Once the pre-approval comes back, you go back and you freeze your TransUnion. Now you go back to the application and accept that offer. What's going to happen at this point is they're going to try to pull your credit, but your credit's already frozen. You've already accepted the offer, and they're going to still send you the card. So you're going to get this card with just a soft inquiry. The way you can do a credit limit reallocation now, they will only do it if you need to do a balance transfer. So this is what you do. You'll tell them you need to make a balance transfer. And in order to have a comfortable credit limit, you want to move credit from card A to card B. They're going to message you back and tell you that they can move it in increments of $1,000. And if you use the entire credit limit, they will close out card A. You message them back, tell them exactly how much you want to move over. They're going to do that. If it's the whole entire limit, just tell them you want to move the whole whatever amount and close out the card. If you want to keep a certain amount on it, you tell them that amount, close and and they're going to move that over. And that is that. You can still reallocate credit limits.
Banks is tired of these phony businesses. A lot of times people are like they're doing these things and they're getting the funding, but guess what? They're defaulting on it. They're trying to flex with it. They're trying to, live off of it. All these different type of things, not actually trying to grow and scale their business, which is what the whole point of business funding is, right? So now banks are tightening up the criteria. They're making it harder to get these bigger numbers. They're making it more difficult to do that. And what they're trying to do is push away, again, like I said, the phony businesses and more so do business with real businesses. So what banks are doing now, and I'm sure everybody heard, oh yeah, go get a virtual address. You can't use your home address. The banks, they use these internal AI systems now, right? And so when they pull up your business, when you come in, you're trying to apply for funding or even just set up a business account. If it's a mail receiving agency, right? They're automatically not even going to let you open an account. And banks, they hate virtual offices and virtual addresses. You have to check to make sure that the address is not flagged in USPS's system as a mail receiving agency. You're better off just having your home address.
What would be your instructions or your strategy if somebody they don't have business credit built yet?
Have your LLC name be generic as possible, right? Your LLC name doesn't need to spell out what you do, all right? And that goes along with the NAICS code as well. Your NAICS code ties you to an industry. And guess what? I'll tell you this one too. Consulting, do not do that one. That is a high-risk industry now. The reason consulting is a high-risk industry because everybody uses it. For people that are in a high-risk industry, we never tell them to go to consulting.
So what are the other mistakes? That way I can make sure we get them all.
People apply to the wrong bank at the wrong time. Like you can have the credit optimized, you can have the business structure correctly, but you can just apply to the wrong bank at the wrong time. I'll give you an example. One of our clients doing revenue, got taxed on everything, right? His main bank with his business was Bank of America. They wouldn't hardly give him anything. He had to beg and claw to get like a 10K credit card. We just introduced other banks that was gonna like his profile, his business better. So now those 10K approvals, now this gentleman's got over 200,000 in funding now. If you want to be a real business, if you get 1 year of tax returns with at least 100,000, I promise you the floodgates open up for you. So you got 3 banks, you got about 45,000, right? Give or take. Guess what? If you get at a tax return now that number will double just like that, because now you can go get a line of credit from each one of those banks for at least 25,000.
And you know what? If I can't even add the focus on generational wealth. Both of my parents are really financially solid. I gotta say that. And passing that on, it was annoying. My parents was very frugal. They came from Jim Crow, Alabama, picking cotton. But it's a blessing now because my parents always would preach, maybe not even going to college, but buying a home, investing. And all of my brothers, myself, end up into home ownership. So instilling generational wealth in your kids, and that comes with financial and credit, is very important. So just make sure it's not, like I said, about what's going on in that White House. It's more about what's going on in your house. And we're going into some rough times. So you guys might be the last shot for your family. So just keep that in mind.
I know a lot of people don't mention about the personal loan is that if you get a co-borrower, you can qualify up to $150,000. And like, if you were to think about it, if you and your partner each get like the personal loan, the max you can get is like 100 in total, right? But if you co-borrow, you can get up to 150. Of course, 150 in a personal loan is quite large. I would prefer to probably go on the business side for that. The personal loan, ideally, you want to keep it under 36 months because the interest rates are going to be way more favorable. Anything above that, you start to get into like the mid-teens. So depending on when they watch the video, it's best to have a personal loan on a shorter end of the spectrum, just so the interest doesn't eat you up on the end.
Do not despise the rich. Do not. The reason why the rich actually have the information on how, if you want to be rich, how to get there. A lot of us don't have that information around people that we are currently connected to, because maybe they have jobs, maybe some of them have a small business, but they wasn't able to know how to expand properly to make more money.
A lot of people are poor trying to look rich, but we don't want to be rich. We want to be wealthy, right? We want to sleep at night and have our money work for us, right? But it all starts with, this podcast. It all starts with signing up for a consultation. It all starts with, hey, I want to be like Calvin. How can I learn more? Right? Tapping into that school community, or many different ways that people can get in, right? Because there's access. The reason you're watching our YouTube channels is because somehow your algorithm kind of favored it because you were tapping in or you were curious about credit. Just having $50,000 in Coca-Cola stock within 5 years, reinvesting the dividends, it can come out to 70,000. So 20,000 divide that by 5 years, right? That's about that's what, 4,000 a year of just money making you money of one stock. I'm saying Coca-Cola because right, I don't drink Coca-Cola, but if I see someone drinking Coca-Cola,
you making money.
I'm going like this. I'm going like, oh man. And guys, you don't have to start with 1,000. Just start with $50. Start with 100. That right there is just powerful. Hey, I have $100 in Coca-Cola stock. I would love for any people from the people watching us next time we hop on to tell us, hey Calvin, hey Ecom, I got $100 in Coca-Cola stock. That makes you a Coca-Cola ownership owner.
We need you all to elevate. We need everyone to elevate, not just, don't get me wrong, you start off with credit, but not just credit. It's more so like, okay, what can I do with, we talk about this all the time on my channel. What can I do with this credit, right? And like Sherry also mentioned, again, YouTube may not be for everyone, but for many of you all who have a skill and like, and people are always asking you to do something you love to do, something you like to do, something that doesn't feel like work, because I'm sure Sherry does this as well too. We just want to just help people. That's what it came down to. We just want to get the information out there. And with, like, for example, with YouTube paying us or any other partnership that we have, that's icing on the cake, but you can literally turn that into a legitimate business where it's real revenue, where you're sleeping in, so again, and that money is coming in. So again, this is just one of those reminders. Again, it may not be for everybody, but again, it's something to most definitely consider. Then going back to,
I think the biggest thing that I mentioned throughout this podcast is, okay, you can get rich working, right? But you need to build wealth in your sleep.
That's right.
Once this thing unlocks of like your money making you money, right? And then that money makes you more money, right? That's a whole different game.